Okay, so here are a few stories to make up for what has happened for those that don't know. So, here are about 6 things, both good and bad, that have happened to me. One of them was I was in elementary school and we were getting off the bus, but I had a seizure on one of the steps. Now, this is just me blanking out and I'm stopping. And the kid behind me, he was a total bully, but the kid behind me yelled something and then pushed me. He literally just went, "Get off!" Pushed me down, still in the seizure. I can't catch myself. I land face down on the curb, and I just start crying. And needless to say, the bus driver yelled at him, and I'm sure something else happened, but I'm crying. I'm still half seizure, and the bus driver actually asks one of the patrols to help take me home. And the patrol was actually my brother. So Ryan he was just like, I'm her brother. This bus driver's like, okay, cool. So yeah, needless to say, I hated him even more. Yeah, that was a fun experience. Let's see what else we got. One time in gym class, most of these are in elementary school, we were dancing and learning the hokey pokey. And I go into a seizure, and I wake up, and I'm in the middle, and I'm just flaring around, just like a weird person. It's like, do the hokey pokey, and it's just like, I'm having like a stand-up seizure there. So I finally come out of it and realize I'm in the middle in this circle, and I'm just like ready to die. Like, okay, nobody look at me. Just try and walk it off. Yeah. One time I was in 4th grade. I don't remember what we were studying at that moment, but all of a sudden I can't see anything. All of a sudden I hear myself clapping and singing the ABCs. So it's literally A, B, C, D, E. I don't remember what I woke up on and what letter I stopped on, but I just kind of stopped and looked around, and my awkwardness was like, what just happened? What? Okay. And I just sat back down, and I'm pretty sure I put my face on my desk, just ready to die again from embarrassment. Let's see. Then there's one time, once I was done with school, I was riding a bike in the dark with my friend on the way to his house, and it's pitch black, okay? And what we did was he would stop every once in a while to tell me which direction we were going to go. So, I followed him, and then I followed the directions, tried to follow his taillight whenever, we would get a light or something. I'd be like, oh, here he is. And then he stops. And I'm like, okay, guess we're going to get the next direction. He looks at me, super serious. He's like, okay, we're going to be in a forest now. There's a bridge. Make sure you turn left, I think it was. But he was like, make sure you turn left. It's a sharp left. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? Obviously, I can't see this bridge now because it's so dark. So, I'm biking, I'm riding, I'm just like trying to look around, try to see where this bridge is, just trusting the instinct. This is where it gets funny. So, at least for me. So, I go into the seizure, and Next thing I realize, I hear myself screaming, like, one of those torture screams, like, ah! Kind of thing. And I can feel myself just flying in the air. And all of a sudden I felt like an extra push, as if some wind had blown me over a little bit more. And my friend had stopped because he heard me screaming. He turned around and he saw me just flying over these rocks, because what there was, if I remember correctly, but there were some rocks. It was near a train station or something. I don't know, I probably got the details wrong, but it was a dangerous area where we had stopped. And he looked at me and he told me that if I probably hadn't made that extra movement, I would have landed on the rocks. So I was like, oh, and I fell face down. So I hit my chest, so I'm just trying to catch my breath. I'm awake and I'm just got a few scabs and everything from, falling down on my bike. And he's just like, oh, let's try and keep this a secret. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever, I don't care. First thing he does when he sees his wife is he confesses, and I'm just like, dude, really? But yeah, I was just trying to catch my breath, and I had to stop him from calling 911, because apparently I wasn't even moving. But yeah, I find it an awesome, hilarious memory. Some people wouldn't, but I find it funny, especially the part where, let's try and keep this a secret. Well, this is what happened. It's like, dude. Let's see. On a much more serious note, though, here's something really bad that had happened to me. So I was on my way to work one morning, and I was on my bike, and I was, just la-da-da-da-da. And there's a little forest area. I'm not really good at explaining things, obviously. But there are some apartments, a path, and then just a bunch of trees. And they block the cars, and never doesn't bother me. So I'm biking, and I see a person coming my way, and before I can nod, because I was getting ready to nod, hey, morning. Next thing I know, I'm being called, someone's calling my phone, and there are these guys in an ambulance, and they're just looking at me, and I was just like, what? And so I'm all dressed for work, and this guy asked me, he's like, oh, do you remember where you were going? Don't fall back asleep. Do you remember where you were going? And I'm like, to a friend's house? I don't. And then, so one of the medics had said, my phone has, my boss's name and then boss next to it. And so it's just Amanda Boss. So the guy saw my phone ringing, and he pulls it out of my pocket, and what did he do? He's just like, oh yeah, she was going to work. And the other guy was just like, how do you know that? It's like, well, her boss just called. And there I am, just trying to stay awake and figure out what happened. And so finally, they're stay awake. And they're eventually my mom gets home, gets to where the ambulance is, and they talk for a while, and let's see, what else did they, and then I get in the car with my mom, and we go home. And I was so tired, I just was so dead. But my mom's like, I was like, can I take a nap? Mom's like, no, stay awake. And finally, like, after a few hours or something, she finally let me go to sleep. I guess she wanted to make sure I didn't have a concussion or something like that. So I wake up, and I had not worn my helmet that day. So, wear a helmet. Apparently, I had fallen off my bike and I guess I just slid. I landed on the side of my head and must have slid because I had scratches all over one side of my face, on my neck, and it was just bad. It was there for like a good few weeks. I was lucky I didn't get any scars or something. But yeah, I was just like, wow. So that happened. Wear a helmet. I learned that the hard way. Let's see. Luckily, I was wearing a helmet when I was riding with my friend. Here's another one. Here's a fun one. This is actually the first time that I was aware that I had a problem, like something had gone wrong. I didn't know about seizures at the time because I was like 5, 7. So what happened was me and, my family, we were going on a bike ride. And next thing I know, like my dad had pointed out that there was a snake on the side, but I hadn't gotten there because I'm on like, I'm slower than they are because my tiny wheels. And I look around, and I must have made a different turn, or I must have stopped at one point, because they had actually kept going because they didn't know I had seizures either. No, this is the first time anyone was aware, at least, that I had seizures. I had blacked out, and when I woke up, there was no one around me. I looked around for, like, my parents, my brother, anyone. Nope. Just cars in the distance, and I was, like, starting to cry. I was crying, and it was just a whole episode to the point where I didn't know what to do. And next thing I know, I hear Katie. I hear my name being called. I'm just like, what? And I turn around, and I see my mom had come back looking for me. Oh my gosh, I just bawled. Like, I just bawled from what I remember. Granted, that was like a while back, so, my memory may be a little shifty there. But one thing I remember is stopping and just being totally lost because I had no idea. I kept on biking or stopping or whatever. But yeah. So those are just a few of the many stories and things that have happened. But yeah. So that's my story. What about you?